Springtime is a time of rebirth, a time of joy. The old night has passed on, and the time of new beginnings is here. And in most religions, it means the return of a Messiah, a Savior, and a new harvest. But there are other religions that take a more darker approach for a good harvest. Today on The Monster Is We Make, I am joined by my friend, the Real Manos, and we will be discussing a ritual that has only recently come to light in the past several years, and the involvement of pagan practices and the sacrifices that go with it. But of course, this subject may put a, shall we say, a damage to your nerves. So if you wish not to subject yourself to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we warned you. Manos, thank you for joining me on this particular case.
And thank you. I am honored to be on the show. I enjoy your work, and I do my own investigations because I have been fascinated for years over cold cases, especially related to what might seem like sacrificial cults. For example, like one of the ones that I've been interested in is the one surrounding El Paso, Texas, around the Valley Lodge area. There have been numerous missing cases for years that have just completely gone.
You're referring to the Manos cult, the one you kind of cheekily took the name from.
That's correct, and that started me down this road, a path, you might say, that never ends. And you'd be surprised of how many cases like this. And this is one of the more fascinating ones because it doesn't take place in the States, and it actually takes place across the pond.
Yes, this one takes place on the Summer Isles near Scotland. The island itself still exists to this day, and it's very secretive. The people who have come from there. It's a very I would almost compare it to an Amish community.
Yeah, that I've actually visited 1 year before, and I would definitely say that's a pretty apt comparison.
Yeah. Now, we are discussing the Wicker Man, the alleged Wicker Man burnings, which were, even by the island, were said to not be real. But in 2006, a citizen from the Summer Islands went to the UK at a BBC documentary and revealed that his grandparents took part in these Wicker Man burnings and also shared a handful of photos. There isn't a lot of technology on the Summer Isles, even to this day. And I think you could agree with that, Manos.
Yes.
That these photos, it's a very low tech, it's a very, very simple community. So these pictures, what little we have, are, going to tie into this case, and possibly cases that happened in and around the Summer Isles right up until like the 1990s.
Correct. Let's see. It's mostly focused on this specific case, and that is the involving a West Highlands constable, Sergeant Neil Howie, and a simple case is basically that he had received a missing persons report, one of a young girl named Rowan Morrison, and she had apparently disappeared, reported missing from her father, Arthur Morrison. He chartered a plane, went to investigate, and never reported back. Now that's where our story basically begins and ends. begins and ends, because we have never received any like police reports. He never reported back, never called from the island, and I believe he was there for 3 days, if I'm not mistaken, or 2.5 days. And the
Now,
plane was never. Oh, I'm sorry.
the plane, you're right, was never reported back. There was no flight log of the return trip from there, and the flight log was missing of the trip to Summer Isle.
That is correct.
Now, one of the pictures we do have of Neil Howie confirming he was on the island is this, which we'll probably talk more about later. But Manos, tell me a bit about Sergeant Neil Howie. What was he like as a person, described by peers and others?
Neil Howie was, from what I can gather, was a decorated police officer in the West Highlands. He was often described as very stiff, conservative, a devout Christian. It actually played a lot into his work and his judgment on how he would go about his duties as a police officer, as well as his everyday life. He actually was not married, and I don't know if this is too personal, but it does seem like he was even a virgin, despite being in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. And he took this case. He was very passionate about missing persons as well, and he took his job extremely seriously. So it's not that surprising that now that we know more about the people of Summer Isle, that the small reports we've been able to get from interviews with the residents of Summer Isle is he was not a popular person when he came on. He apparently, these are the reports from investigations afterwards, that he was very offended by the practices of this town and their education system, and was just up and down the island looking for the girl. And this is the funny thing, and I hope this isn't a spoiler going into this, but this is actually one of the things that really confuses me when I look at this story, and that's one of the things that really kind of got me into this investigation, is that the girl that he was sent to recover was never missing. She was on the island, and she is actually, I believe she's still alive to this day. And he just, according to witnesses, he just refused to accept it, that there was no sense of foul play, until he just left in a huff. I assume defeated, because it did seem like he did want to prove that there was something unscrupulous going on in this island, where apparently this is, of course, this is not exactly what I think, but this is, of course, the official story is that he just wouldn't accept that there had been no foul play and left. And that's unfortunately the last we saw and heard of Sergeant Howie, because he never returned from his flight.
Now, it's interesting that you say, like, during this investigation that he was very adamant, and that image of the school was at Summer Isle. And
yeah,
it's very fascinating that a police officer, very decorated and very religious, would go to Summer Isle in this case, but also forced himself into these positions, like, according to some people at Summer Isle, and like you said, he apparently left in a huff, was that he was trying to challenge their beliefs, which is interesting because Summer Isle did, for the longest time, did have a pseudo Celtic pagan look.
That is correct.
it's recently just now gotten a church. I think back in 2001, Christianity has just it only arrived in Summerisle, like the idea of Christianity and even a church, in like 2001 or 2002. You can see like, and it's interesting that like this island held on to these paganistic beliefs without outside intervention for so long. Like we all know, like I'm not even talking, like we all know, like Christianity imperialism was out of control in like the not just during the age of colonialism, but also like when the empire was expanding across the world. So it's almost admirable to see Summerisle survive without the touch of other outside religions for so long.
Yeah. And I actually, let's see, I when I started really getting into this case, I actually did last year visit Summerisle. It's really pleasant. It's a lovely place. Like the apple orchards are just immaculate. I mean, it's something they really take pride in. And you mentioned the church had eventually popped up, and it's a pretty accepting church. It has a small denomination, but it does seem to be balanced very nicely. There's no, that I can see, any real hostility between the two, which is really nice. And it's a very pleasant place.
Because like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like it's interesting because like you've mentioned that there's a dichotomy there, that there are people practicing Celtic tradition.
Yes.
So was that something you said you saw, or?
It is something I saw, yeah. And I would ask, I of course did ask them about the case of Neil Howie. I asked the heads of the church, as well as, just, people at the pub. The pub the people at the pub were very friendly, and they had like they kind of laugh about it. It's almost like a town legend now, similar to like Mothman, for instance.
Oh, so it's like their equivalent to like Sleepy Hollow's Headless Horseman. It's like Howie is almost like our Ichabod Crane in this story.
Correct, because I did ask around if they mind, because if they were upset that people think of this of them, and they don't. They feel it was sad that he passed away, but they kind of take it in stride, and even to this day they will have a pseudo Wicker Man celebration on the date that he supposedly had left. And it is kind of mocking the whole situation. I didn't get a chance to see it myself, but there have been reports over the year. They've actually been on news sites. They've kind of shown footage of it and stuff like that. I think there's a video on YouTube. We can go check it out. And I don't know. I've never seen this kind of thing before, because I mean the whole world accuses them of murder, and they just shrug their shoulders and think, "Well, that's funny," and that's kind of it. I don't know. It's one of those things you don't really understand until you actually see it here for your own eyes.
Yeah, it's fascinating that like, and I talked about this in the previous episode regarding how Amity Island treats the 5 shark attacks as almost like tourist attractions, when in reality the 5 people were brutally devoured in certain places, and it's now seen as like a tourist attraction. And it's not, this is not uncommon. Like you see this in like London. I talked about this before, but just to reiterate, because there's such
Yeah.
a similarity between Summer Isle and Amity. You have like London, there's tourist spots for Jack the Ripper. In New Orleans, there's tourist spots for like the Axeman murders. In Crystal Lake, people still sneak over there because they think they'll see a boogeyman.
Over and over again. It's so strange that strange killings can be the best thing in time to communities. I don't know. It's a little hard to wrap my brain around that kind of idea.
Yeah. So regarding the practices and going
best
back
thing
to
best thing I want to like stipulate is kind of in terms of like tourism, like it's so, I don't know, it's such an odd disconnect of the horror, the humanity of the initial incident, and then time and history turns it into this folklore.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's macabrely, if that could be a word, fascinating.
Yeah.
But going back to 1973 and Neil Howey's time there, he did interview. There were what we do know is the flight log there does put him there at about 1:30 p.m. and he made a direct contact with the harbor master after landing, and then the plane left. Now, the other thing I find fascinating is why did Scotland Yard only send him and not like a joint investigation for this missing child?
From what I understand, that was the normal procedure at the time. Keep in mind, this is 73, and the United Kingdom, not present day, where nowadays we do have atom alerts and it's all hands on deck. For back then, it was a simple report, and they just sent one police constable, and that was kind of it. And of course, like with no backup, whatever may have occurred to him, there was nobody there to protect him.
And then we have that the flight logs were not only missing at that point, they're only like it's all speculation, but like the plane itself went down less than an hour later due to alleged engine failure. Although the plane was still in the ocean, so it wasn't recovered. It was just believed engine trouble was the cause of it.
Yes, that's been a theory. There's been a few. I don't know. There's a little bit of there's been a few open theories about that with his disappearance, whether the plane had engine trouble or he had a decent amount of flight experience. He was a pilot in the war, so he does know what he's doing. But that, anybody can make a mistake, especially if he had spent 3 days in a terrible temper. That could have affected his ability to fly the plane. I have not seen anything. I have not seen any unusual weather that could have prevented him from getting home safe. So it's a little bit of a mystery.
Now, regarding, because we've talked about a little earlier that he was Sergeant Howey was very conservative. He was very he was very hard-nosed about his religion and his beliefs. And as you said, some of the accounts is that he was in the middle of a festival and that they were celebrating, and he called it godless. He called it, I would imagine that would not put you on the right foot. If you're there to investigate a missing child, you're not going to get any help if you start saying your God sucks.
Correct. Yeah, this is the main religion of the town. They put a lot of emphasis on it, and yeah, that pretty much was cold water. And this is after maybe 2 days of him. Let's see. Mae Morrison, who was Rowan Morrison's mother, she reported that he, once he came into her home, he just would not accept that her daughter Rowan was fine, and the story's a little muddled as to how exactly this false report got out. It's has a little bit to do with her estranged husband Arthur, and that this was some sort of revenge, or she had gone with him. They've been a little unclear, and that's one of the unanswered questions. Because I've heard both, and that just to me sends some red flags to me. Like, why did this report come out? But she had reported that he just wouldn't accept the fact that the girl was standing right there. He went over to house and house, different houses looking. He even went into the school and checked for her attendance and yelled at the students while they were, I believe, they were studying. I think they had a sex education class at the time, and he was deeply offended by that.
Yeah, so, hence this is the picture we have, as I showed earlier. Which it makes it does beg the question: if he was so adamant on staying and also putting on his beliefs, was this a mixture of religious intolerance, or was there some mental imbalance? But at the same time, there was no report from anyone that Sergeant Howie had any mental illnesses, such as like bipolar or anything of that nature. So but that does beg the question, why would he stick his nose into something that's not a part of the case?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because of course they didn't really look into bipolar issues, or really investigating like autism or anything like that. That wouldn't have been really deeply looked into at the time. This is 73. But there is no reports in his record of acting irrational in such ways. There's no similar report of him doing this anywhere else, which really makes this, I don't know, a little confusing. Like, you could make the case that maybe he had never encountered such a huge affront to his beliefs and reacted badly. Maybe he was tired from the trip, and he could have been really mad about the fact that his time was wasted on this report. But the thing that keeps coming back to me over and over again is these little holes in the story that I guess officially are satisfactory, but like many others, there is the question, like, what exactly is the origin of the false report, and what exactly is the reason his plane didn't make it back?
Yeah, and I guess we should talk a bit about the ritual that was celebrated at the time. Yeah, let's get to that. This is the only footage we have of this, and we will talk about the man in the front in a moment. But there's allegedly the person in the jester costume was Sergeant Howie. That can't be confirmed, but that's what the rumor was in this image. And that was also when this picture was took, when the person from 2006 showed off these images in that BBC special, said that was Sergeant Howie in that costume. So why was he taking place? Why the hell is he taking place in a ritual for a pagan ritual when he is so steadfast against it? Was it? I don't understand that.
I know, it's so, and I've heard that report too, and it's just so. You do wonder if, like, there's the expression of going native, and when you go into like a new environment, you just kind of lose yourself and get involved. Like, there's so many, a lot of the interviews from witnesses of the time are usually fairly united on the basic points of what happened to him and what he was doing, and there are some inconsistencies too. That like this, I've also read a couple of interviews that he did take part in it, and others claiming he didn't, and did he go insane? And of course we're going to get to the big question is, was he sacrificed? Did he not go on the plane? That's one of the things. Like we don't have like a clear understanding of what happened to the plane, and how could it have crashed into the ocean? Because it was never recovered. So like maybe he never left the island. Could he have been sacrificed? Could he have just joined the community of himself and maybe didn't want to, return and be a police officer anymore? There's just I've heard so many different questions about this, and there's so many different theories that have gone across. And I'll, if you don't mind, at the end I'll give you my personal theory.
Of course.
But that's the thing that's so funny. It's like, is this because, we don't have any footage, unfortunately. We only have pictures. And so I've looked at there's only like a couple pictures. And I can't tell. I can't tell if it's him.
It's impossible to say if that is him in the jester costume. Like he's a very short man, or the man we'll probably talk about right next is that tall. So yeah. I guess we should talk about this man in particular in the front, Lord Summerisle. We don't know much about him. This is one of the few photos we have of him. Let me pull it up real fast. Just one moment, please. So Lord Summerisle was a very secretive man. He was the head of the community, so to speak.
Yeah.
Did they talk about him at all when you were in?
Yeah. They're like paintings of him. He is very well loved. He passed away in, I believe, 2015. So before I was able to get there. I visited 10 years after his passing, and he is well loved. And his son is the current lord of the town island, and he speaks very lovingly of him. He is one of many sons, by the way. He never officially married in the way of the Christian church, but he did have a number of sons and daughters from many different residents in the town. He, from what I keep hearing, like he was the grandfather of the founder of the island, and he had a very like kind of soft-spoken, gentle and kind of humorous personality, I guess. And there wasn't anybody he wouldn't like hang out with and chat. He never held his position over people in any kind of like any any kind of forceful way that I could see. And he led the towns much like we see, all dressed up, and he was apparently all into it. And he was a full believer, and from what I understand.
Yeah, I have heard that like even though he wasn't officially like the mayor or held any government position, people look to him in the town as like head of like any kind of ruling of that nature.
Yes. And that was kind of
elected officials would go to him for counsel.
Correct. And that's kind of the thing that I think is interesting. Oh, I'm sorry. It is kind of the interesting thing is like the town just operates like there's no like official capacity like that. And it's kind of charming, frankly.
It is. But at the same time, like there's something just off about the guy. It just feels like the more you hear about it, is like he did meet Sergeant Howie. He did
Yes.
like they did have a conversation. Now, some people say that it was cordial, and Lord Summerisle was very open with talking about the investigation, and others say that it blew into an argument between the two.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. Summerisle is a man who, while pleasant, uh, is doesn't back down from his beliefs and the town. So I can imagine they did not get along.
Right.
So, um, yeah, there is a let's see. There's a lovely spot that was dedicated to him. Um, he doesn't have a traditional grave. Um, let's see. From what I understand, there was a ritual to celebrate his passing in 2015. There was no witnesses well, there was no outside witnesses, I should say.
Yeah, there
To
was like I've heard about this. It was like no, it was like it was the like the I guess you could say his children, his illegitimate children,
Yeah,
and some of the government officials, and that was it.
that was it. And there was a there was ironically his body was cremated in a ritual fire. They had it was a essentially from what I understand. I actually did get to speak to his son.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did. I got to tell you, like, you go there, and everyone is really like forthcoming and pretty approachable. I actually ran into him at the pub. I didn't even go to his castle.
Was it? It was. Did you know at the time, or were you like, "Hi, hello there," or did he come up to you and be like, or were you just having a drink and he just sat down next to you? What was that like?
I was talking to a couple of the locals about that, and discussing the investigation I was doing for my podcast. And he just came over with like a pint and chatted with me for about an hour, and like he had spoke really lovingly to his father, and talked about he wasn't even he wasn't even overly sad. He actually, when he spoke of him and spoke of the ceremony, um, he seemed really happy, and like it was a celebration rather than a loss. And he spoke to me about like how, like, he and his descendants and the descendants of the island actually are still with them in the trees and the apples and the whole nature of the town. They're still there. It's I don't know. He was a really nice guy. But I just I did I of course brought up Sergeant Howie, and that's when
Did he
he
bristle at that, or
he he laughed at it, and um he
oh, he
called
laughed about it?
he laughed about it, and basically called Sergeant Howie a fool, and fools find themselves. Uh, he said, essentially, fools find their ways uh, to their ultimate path, and he didn't even go any further than that. And you know what? I'll be honest. I was a little. It was the first time. It was the first and only time while I was visiting that I felt a little threatened. So I was like, well, I'm one guy in this town. Maybe I should,
Quit
take
while
my
I'm
answers
ahead.
and go. Oh, so, but that's the only time that I felt a little, I wouldn't say threatened, but, felt a little bit of uncomfortable.
Yeah. So Lord Summerisle, he and Howie have a altercation, whether it be positive or negative. What we do know from accounts is that Howie just stormed out of Summerisle's home, um, and that was right before this whole incident occurred. Which I guess there's no point in not talking about it anymore. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the image. It's just not seem to be working right now.
Oh, you're talking about the Wicker Man itself.
Yes.
Okay.
There is. I'm going to see if I can. Something's up with the image. Oh, there we go. That was Lord Summerisle right here. Finally, it starts to work. I don't know. Technical difficulties, of course. But yeah,
and I guess we're gonna have to trick someone and sacrifice them to make it work.
I hope no one from Summerisle is listening. But okay, here's the image. Someone one of I think Summerisle's servants snapped this picture, and we do see that they're having a conversation. But you clearly see Howie's not having it. Whatever Sergeant they're talking about, Sergeant Howie's just not having it.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a pleasant meeting, and that's kind of the general explanation I keep hearing from testimony, that they did not get along, and it was a rather abrupt meeting.
But on one hand, I get it. On one hand, I get it. Here you have an officer. We go back to why is Sergeant Howie goes into these people's beliefs? I mean, okay, they don't worship your God. That doesn't make them evil. You could clearly, I would imagine if you're the head of this community and this outsider has come to your home and told you all your beliefs are wrong and you're going to burn in hell, that would upset me.
Yeah, I come into my house and say that? No, I wouldn't appreciate that. And I understand that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. And
yeah.
So you wanted to bring up the Wicker Man itself. Okay. Yeah. There we go.
So this is the picture we have. And you talked about how they playfully, they kind of cheekily do this as like an anniversary, like during a celebration.
Correct, yeah.
What we know about Gaelic. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. They've done this since the film in 2006. They've been doing this, actually. Like I said, they've been kind of making fun of the really infamous reputation that's surrounded this story, and it's worked. There have been times where they've done this for onlookers and for tourists, where they just kind of like mockingly choose sacrifice, and it's I've never seen a community react this way. Now, I've seen communities like we mentioned Mothman and the Axeman, the Wicker Man, all these mans. But we've seen communities kind of embrace their horrible histories and kind of into fun tourist traps. But I've never seen this is like community itself is being accused of murder, and I've never seen the community go, "Ha! No, we didn't. No, we didn't." I don't know. It's really unusual.
It's all like you'd almost swear that they're laughing in the tourist's face that like we got away with murder. I
yeah,
can't
that's exactly how I. Because, like, I don't know. It's
yeah.
If there's no,
It's almost
if
like
there's
again,
no witness,
I bring up the whole thing of like.
Oh no, you go on.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's. Oh, I'm sorry. You cut out there for a second. What did you say?
I was just gonna say that if there's no, like you said, if there's no witnesses, then is it really a murder?
Yeah. If the Wicker Man burns and no one is around to see it, is it murder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
because
I do want to stress that, like, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Manos.
Oh no, I just wanted to point out that, like, yeah, there have been plenty of cases where there's not enough evidence to convict an individual. Like, what happens when the community is possibly the culprit, and who's going to testify? Like, who's going to, like, build a case? There's literally no case if the community just says no, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Now, I do want to stress about the origin of the Wicker Man is that this is going back since Gaelic and even like Germanic times, where a Wicker Man was built and a person was put inside for a sacrifice for either a fertility or for a good harvest. Usually they were burned in historical records during springtime, to welcome in, the summer is gone. I mean, the winter is gone, and we're looking to a good harvest for the spring and summer to come.
Correct. Also, I want to just point out that I believe part of the ritual does also have not just a human, but livestock like chickens, pigs, goats, and such, to kind of cover all the bases.
That's yes. Now, the Summerisle religion is very Gaelic, ancient Bretonian inspired or adjacent, but you can clearly feel that it's like almost like a Frankenstein of several pagan religions.
Yeah.
And the Wicker Man is kind of a testament to that. So I'm curious as to, like, I wonder if that was just for tourists or if they actually did burn. I'm not saying they killed anyone, but again, we're going to talk a bit about Sergeant Howie in a bit, but like,
yeah,
I wonder like how often they did these rituals for their religion.
Let's see. I don't know. There's been no real since the low harvest they had in 72, the year before Howie's disappearance. They had a terrible, they just had a terrible harvest, and the town economy did suffer from that. They did have ups and downs, but never to the point of 72. 72 was the worst, and since the last report from, what was it, 2024, they haven't had any real terrible harvests. Now, I don't know. The weather has been not great this year, so they haven't come back with a report for the 2025 harvest yet. So or 2026, excuse me. So we'll see. We'll see how good the harvest is this year. But like I said, if you don't mind beginning back, some of this, a lot of the popularity of this case comes from the Neil LeBlanc film from 2006 with Nicolas Cage, and there's a lot of deviations.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of deviations from it's. I believe it's in California instead of Scottish Isles. Um, in order, it's so funny. Like in order to not offend the people of Summer Isle, the studio opted to have a made up bee cult be the citizens of Summer Island instead of them.
I heard they still took legal action against them.
They did. There were some agreements, and then the final film came out, and they were still not happy about it. So, I've seen the film. Like the film is pretty bad and kind of hateful, and
it's very disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful. And I don't know. It's more humorous, frankly, and I think that's kind of the take the town has had. It's insulting, but it's stupid and harmless. And if anything, it's actually benefited the town in certain ways. Like we talked about there's actually been a little tourism and a little money has come into the town to help supplement, any kind of like, low harvests and stuff like that. So
that's true.
Yeah. So there's that. But it kind of doesn't answer the question, does it? Like, what really happened to them?
Well, Sergeant? That's why I want to bring your attention to this other photo I have of the Wicker Man.
Yeah.
You see, like, a ring of people down here worship, like chanting to the Wicker Man that I showed earlier, burning.
Yeah.
And according to that BBC documentary from that one person from the Isle, said that Sergeant Howie was inside as it was burning.
Yeah. I've heard that too. Yeah.
Now, I want to stress that there was a investigation for like a month into the Summer Isles town after that documentary, but they couldn't really find anything because the case had been so long and people who were still alive at that they even questioned Lord Summer Isle himself.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, like, and it also it doesn't help that like there have been other disappearances in and around Summer Isle, and we didn't talk about that till just now, because Howie was not the first one to go missing.
That is correct, but they've been mostly not as directly connected to the island as Howie was. So there's a aspect of deniability on these missing cases where they still could be, but it's frustrating. It's a little bit of a frustrating case. And let's see. There is the person you mentioned. There is a person that did kind of come forward. His name is Ernest Boyd, and he was the son of a resident at the time. And he was one of the ones that claimed, and I believe he was the in the documentary, the one that was claiming like that it was all a ruse to get this police officer to sacrifice himself. And he has, he has not returned to the island. And actually, he's still alive. He, I believe he lives in California. He lives in San Diego. And he is not, from all reports, he is not welcome back. I did bring him up when I was there, and people do not like him. He apparently was according to the stories, he was a drunken, abusive person. He didn't believe in their ways, and they're all like claiming that he went to the BBC for money.
I see.
Yeah, that's the story I keep hearing. Like he was a consultant on the Wicker Man film from 2006, so everybody's kind of putting it on him that he is like a liar and a con man. But I've read his interviews, and there's a lot of detail in his stories. So I mean, he could be a jerk. He could be exactly what they were calling him as. He's been arrested a few times in the last 10 years. But that doesn't take away that, he probably saw what he saw.
Yeah, it's hard to say because again, there's no evidence to really, like, even with this picture, you can't. And the other one we talked about of like, oh, that was Sergeant Howie in the jester costume. Well, how can you prove it?
Yeah, that's my point. There's so many. There's so much conjecture, but there's very little really solid evidence that is frustrating. And one of the things that I find frustrating about this case is I don't think we'll ever know.
That's that's the tragedy in all this, isn't it?
Exactly, because one community essentially controls the narrative. And, if they're all saying what they're saying, there's really no way of getting around it.
Yeah. And it's not just them. There's other like small communities that have these ritualistic binds to them, like the El Paso, Texas incidents. And there's even like a cult in, I believe, a small little community in Sweden that has a very similar paganistic religion akin to this.
Yeah. I've heard about that too.
Yeah. And they calling it Midsummer.
Yes.
That's what I think they call the ritual in that Swedish village.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's you do bring up boys, like whether they're innocent or not, the people of Summer Isle control the narrative. So I don't think we'll ever get a straight answer for as long as we live.
Correct. And this is in 73. That's like over 50 years ago now. And a lot of the people, a lot of the adults have passed away. Lord Summerall's passed away. There were children, so unless they want to come forward, or if they've told maybe their children, and maybe that's the only way I could see this getting out, is maybe the children of the time have told their children, and maybe that'll come out. But then again, then lies the question, like, if that did come out, then what would happen? What would the world do to Summer Isle? Like,
yeah, they're still say what they want. They're still under British rule. Like, they're still under British law.
Correct. Do they risk letting the truth out and risk their whole livelihoods? That's the thing that kind of gets me. Like, maybe they won't, and we'll never really know the whole story.
Yeah. So, well, I think we've gone as far as we can down this rabbit hole, Manos.
Yes.
So we will leave it up to you, dear listener. Do you think the people of Summer Isle are guilty of murder, of not just Sergeant Howie, but also other murders throughout the decades? Or do you think it's an innocent town? We leave that question up to you. But until next time, dear listener, I am Mr. Multiverse. Manos, thank you so much for joining me on this episode.
It was an honor. I've loved this show. It's listen to every week when you come out. It's just the greatest.
Thank you. And until next time, dear listener, here's to a new world of gods and monsters.